So this is attempt number 3 at White Rim Trail. It's the trail that runs along the Colorado through Canyonlands, and there's nothing really tricky about it. It's just last year I failed to bring enough water and allow enough time. 2 weeks back it was broken clutch, and this time I've got plenty of water. I should have plenty of time. I don't know how difficult the other side of the trail will be. I've only gotten maybe a third, halfway, so I don't really have any idea. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get back. I'm not even sure about my route getting back. I think I'm going to come through the park and then come down the Schaefer switchbacks, but I got plenty of gas, I got plenty of water, I should have plenty of daylight, although the sun's going down earlier. I've got warm enough gear to get me back here even if it's freezing, so I don't see anything that's holding me back today other than will. So I'm almost an hour down White Rim, and I don't think I've been this far before, because I think I would have stopped and take a gawk at this. This is actually part of the road, and obviously we're hanging off a cliff here. I don't think I've ever seen this before. This is this is quite impressive. And the funny thing is that I wanted to get close to the edge, but I got off the bike and started taking off my gear, and I forgot I was standing. I don't think I got that close, but I got about halfway to the edge, backing up. Halfway to that edge from the bike, backing up, and then I'm like, oh shit. That was interesting. Man, this is just so spectacular. It blows Grand Canyon, in my opinion, just blows Grand Canyon away, because you can't ride along the rim of the Grand Canyon, or at least I haven't found it. I haven't found that part. So, in my opinion, this is 10 times better than the Grand Canyon. And, you know, it's the Colorado River. It's deep freaking canyons. It may not be as deep or as old or whatever, but where can you do this at the Grand Canyon? I'm going to try to find out. I'm going to try to go back down on the North Rim and do some more exploring. This time get the bike out. I didn't get the bike out last time because it's so freaking cold. Man, it was cold. pretty awesome. Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Aha! Aha! So I thought I'd talk a little bit about some geology because I'm fascinated by how the earth was formed, the natural forces that formed the earth and made the rocks. And here's a pretty good example of stuff I've been passing most of the day on the west side of the canyon. If you take a close look at this, you can see that there's probably only one thing that'll make a formation like this. If you've ever been to the beach, you would have seen ripples like this in the sand. And obviously that's what we got here is an ancient beach. And if you look at this layer right here, you can see the same thing in reverse. Not near as good, but I've just kind of always ever since I heard the explanation, petrified sand dunes. I've always had a problem with the petrified sand dunes. I don't know why, because it was always hard for me to imagine how you get a petrified sand dune. You've got to have some kind of deposition on top of sand dunes, and that was the hard thing for me to imagine. But my little tour through. My little Unimog tour through Hell's Revenge the other day, the driver, the tour guide, mentioned that the dinosaur tracks that you were looking at were preserved in place, in situ, by an eruption, an ash layer separating the layers. And I started thinking about that. I mean, that was a small flat piece of rock where the dinosaur prints he showed us were. But I started thinking, well, you know, that would be enough to, a good thick layer on top of sand dunes would be enough to separate one layer of sand from the other and preserve it. Potentially. So I started thinking maybe that's actually how it happened with the sand dunes. But here's another pretty good example. I was hoping to maybe find some plant life or some kind of a fossil like a shell or, I don't know, fish. I don't know if this is the appropriate layer for fish. It's just cool to think about how the rocks were formed and imagine years ago walking on a beach. This is not a breakdown, but it could have been a disaster because I lost one of the mounting bolts for the top case. Lucky for me, Mr. Prepared has another nut and another washer that I actually tucked in. I probably would have forgotten they were there had I not gone through the case and sorted out some tools. So lucky me, I've got everything I need if I can just get it bolted back in. It's kind of in a tight spot.